Hello, everyone. This is Alicia at Alicia Unapologetically You. Now, I had talked about our story time with MONEZ tonight at 8 p.m. It's Friday night, would be on Lilith. Okay. Now, I had sent a little short video out just the other day. Lilith, is it a myth? Is it true? Whatever, I can't remember exactly, but you've all seen the video, okay? That's the question, right? That's the big question on her. All right. Now I right here have Genesis from the Holy Bible that I grew up with in the Baptist church when I was a very young child. They baptized me at the age of 6 into the church. My whole family I was born into on my dad's side was Baptist. Now, and I remember reading all of this because even though my grandmother made my mom put me into the Christian school at the Baptist church, the local Baptist church in South Hope, Maine, that I went to, where I grew up in Union, they didn't really teach you much school work like math, writing, and stuff. They'd give you booklets, like work booklets that you can write in. But the only thing the teachers ever really taught us and made us learn for homework and everything was Bible verses. We had to memorize every Bible verse by heart. Okay, that was the biggest thing. And but they never, and they would, because it's supposed to be school too, they would give us the work booklets that you can write in for math and reading, writing, and all that, science and all that. But the teachers never really talked anything or talked about it or taught it, nothing. The only thing they ever talked about and actually would make us learn is every Bible verse in that Bible, okay? They'd even take us upstairs because the school was in the basement. It was very small, so there wasn't many of us, and it was a bunch of grades all in one big room in the basement with little cubbies set up, dividers on the tables, you know. And yeah, so, but they had to make it, able to pass us, I guess, for the school part. So they had to at least give us the books, but really all they taught us was Bible verses. Okay, so now I had been hearing a lot on, I've been watching these things and stuff like everybody else has online, especially YouTube. And there's this one guy, and I can't remember his name, but he keeps talking about in the book of Genesis how it does not say anything about Lilith. It doesn't even mention Adam's first wife until the next chapter after Genesis, right? And it only mentions Eve. And that in the next chapter, it talks about how Adam was put to sleep by God and he took one of Adam's ribs and created Eve. But then he says, if you read Genesis, the chapter before, they talk about Eve in the next chapter. In Genesis, it talks about Adam and his wife being created, but doesn't mention the name, and it wasn't from a rib, okay? So I have Genesis right here, and I'm going to read it to you, part of it, as much as I can to try to see what he's talking about, okay? So in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was waste and void, and darkness was upon the of the wait, and the earth was waste and void, and darkness was upon the of the deep. Okay, whatever. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Okay, now I'm assuming that darkness was upon the of the deep, meaning the water. I don't know, because then it says, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Now, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw the light, and it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and he called the darkness night. And there was evening, and there was morning one day. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God said, let there be a firmament and divide the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. Now, I have read Genesis since I was a child, and like I said, they made us memorize that entire freaking Bible. Since kindergarten up to third grade, I was there before Mom pulled me out when she realized they weren't teaching us actual schoolwork, only Bible verses, and putting A's and 1B, but kept it all straight A's on my report card. And my mom showed me all the report cards she was getting, and she couldn't figure out why her daughter still couldn't read or write in friggin' first, second, third grade. So she pulled me out and put me in public. And she went over there and she reamed that church teacher out. She told me all about it. She was not happy. But I could tell you every Bible verse there was, but I could not do, yeah. So that shows you that if you got your kids in a Christian school like that, you need to take them out and put them in an actual school where they're going to learn. Okay. Now, where was I? Now, and God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. And God called the firmament heaven. And there was evening, and there was morning, a second day. And God said, let the water under the heavens be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together the waters called he seas. And God saw that it was good. And good, blah, blah. And God said, let the earth put forth grass, herbs yielding seed, and fruit trees bearing fruit after their kind, wherein is the seed. Now, I know it talks about God, in Genesis, it, is the first chapter that talks about how he created the earth and how many days. It says it took him 7 days to create this whole entire world. Okay. Now, wherein is the seed thereof upon the earth? And it was so. And that's talking the last chapter I just read. And the earth brought forth grass, herbs yielding seed after their kind, and trees bearing fruit, wherein is the seed thereof after their kind. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning, a third day. Now, this is like the third day, and they're still talking about the same morning and evening and planting seeds, okay, and water, all right. And that was the third day. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. He's talking like farming, growing your seeds and planting your fruits and, veggies and all that. Okay. And let them be for lights in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made the two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And God set them in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. Now, I've been hearing there is new information. Do your own research too. You don't have to take my word or everybody's word. Do your own research if you really are interested and really want to know for sure, okay, what everybody's saying. Because everybody says something different. Everybody's got their own opinion, just like I do, okay? But stars are actually angels. Now, I can't remember where I heard this. It was one of the things I saw on YouTube online. But I can't tell you that I believe everything I hear, read, and so on. But I'm not going to discredit it either and say that I don't believe. So I'm not going to say I believe, and I'm not going to say I don't believe. But I am going to file it in my cabinet back here in my mind and just, find out for myself as it comes. Now, I was talking a lot about that. Now, I want to get to the part where it talks about Adam. Now, let's see. This is talking about, and God said, let the earth bring forth living creatures after their kind, cattle and creeping things, and beasts of the earth after their kind. And it was so. And God made the beasts of the earth after their kind, and the cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the ground after its kind. And God saw that it was good. And it sounds to me like each chapter is like repeating itself, what it just said. And God said, let us make man in our image. Okay, who's our? If God is one being, yes, people say the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. He's three in one. But that's still one being. Even if it's three in one, it's still one being, okay, in my opinion. And so who's us, okay? Who's our image? Who's that? That to me sounds like more than one or two, right? Okay. And God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. And God created man in his own image. Now, it just said our image. Now it's saying his own image. So, which is it? All right. That's two different things if you read it. Okay, so, and God created man in his own image, and the image of God created he him, male and female, and created he them. Now listen to that, okay? God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish and the animals, the birds, the cattle, creepy things. And God created man in his own image. Okay, so this chapter is now saying, this verse actually is saying his own. When it just said our, now it's saying his own. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. Together at the same time. There's no talk of ribs. Doesn't mention names yet. Now let's keep going. And God blessed them. And God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the heavens and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. And God said, behold, I have given you every herb yielding seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for food. Okay, now it's, yeah, okay. So he blessed them, and he said to them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it and have dominion. He's talking both, okay? Because first he said God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female. He made them both equal at the same exact time. Okay? They were supposed to both have equal dominion. It says it right here. I just read it. Over everything, from the heavens to the earth. Everything. That's equal. Okay? And God said, behold, I have given you every herb yielding seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for food. And to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the heavens, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for food. And it was so. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And there was a evening, and there was morning on the sixth day. Now, I feel like he skipped ahead here. But anyways, let's see. So now, and the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the hosts of them. And on the seventh day, God finished his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day and hallowed it, because that in it he rested from all his work which God had created and made. These are the generations of the heavens and of the earth, and they were created in the day that Jehovah God made earth and heaven. And no plant of the field was yet in the earth, and no herb of the field had yet sprung up, for Jehovah God had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was not a man to till the ground. But there went up a mist from the earth, and watered the whole face of the ground. And Jehovah God formed man in the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and a man became a living soul. And Jehovah God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. And out of the ground made Jehovah God to grow every tree that is unpleasant to the sight and good for food, and the tree of life also in the evil midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from there it was parted and became four heads. Now, this is chapter 2. Okay, we're in chapter 2 now. I've already done the whole chapter 1 of Genesis. Okay, doesn't say anything about the names of a man and a woman, but in the first chapter of Genesis, it talks about in the verses, one of the verses, that he created man in his own image, and man and woman together at the same time. Okay, I just read that to you. Now we're in chapter 2, and he's talking about creating man because there was no man to do the work on the earth of all these seeds that he planted for the fruits and the trees and the, all that, right? The creepy things and all that. Okay. All right. What you just said, did you create? So, how many men were there? Did you create one or did you create two in the beginning? Because from what I'm reading, first chapter in the verses, it talks about you already created man and woman. And now we're in chapter 2, and you're talking about creating man for the first time. Okay, that doesn't make sense, and you're saying it differently now. So something does not make sense. And it's easy to not see that. Okay, it's easy to be reading along the way they word the wording the in the Bible. It's hard in our time for a lot of people to understand exactly. It's easy to distract their mind, but if you really pay attention, I mean, come on. Now listen. Chapter 1. God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female, and God created them together equal. Now, jumping into chapter 2, where we just read, and God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils a breath of life, and man became a living soul. Okay, Jehovah's God planted a garden eastward in Eden. Okay, the gold of the land, the good of the, and the name of the second river, Gihon, and the same is that of compassive, the whole land of Cush, and the name of the third river is Hiddekel, that is it which goeth. Okay, now I want to see where you've already talked about creating man. Okay, here we go. And the man gave names to all cattle, and to the birds in the heavens. But for the man there was no one found a help. Okay, so Jehovah God caused a deep sleep to fall upon the man, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh and thereof, and the rib which Jehovah God had taken from the man made a woman and brought her unto the man. He already said in chapter 1, and it was which day was that? The fifth day he created man in the beginning. On the fifth day during the creation, he had already created man and woman together, equal to have dominion over everything, from heaven to earth, the birds, the trees, everything equal. All right. And chapter 2, he talks about create man for the first time again, only this time he's created man alone, so he creates a woman out of his rib after puts him to sleep. I just read it to you. So which is it? Seriously, really go back to the beginning. And I have read different versions of the Holy Bible, from the King James, everything. I have read the beginning of every one of them, gone back, different ones, to try to figure out what this guy was talking about, because it really sparked my interest. And they all say the same, but nothing justifies the truth. So obviously, somebody is wrong. I mean, come on, think about it. So, and it doesn't say garden and these parted and became four heads and a river. Yeah, it talks about gold, and it talks about the tree of knowledge and good and evil. And that was a short chapter, chapter 2. So really, I mean, obviously there was already a man created on the fifth day in the beginning. Okay, the fifth day, and a woman created with him. So where did they go? Did anybody ever think about that? Now I'm now thinking of that, not just the first wife, but where was this first man? Now, why is all of a sudden he creating another man and calling it the first one, when he's already just said in the first chapter of Genesis, in the beginning, that he had already created man and woman of the same dirt, equal at the same time, and gave them both the same equal dominion over everything. Everything. The stars, the moon, the birds, the creepy crawlies, the earth, have everything. Okay, so I would say somebody screwed up somewhere in their writing. And now all of a sudden they're calling him a Jehovah God. Like I said, I have read the beginning of different types of holy Bibles, and they all claim to be the true one, but they all don't make sense. If you really pay attention, where's this other man and woman that you already talked about? These can't be the first created because you already talked about it. So obviously, when they remove something from the Bible, they did not remove the correct writing, because, and obviously people have overlooked this and misunderstood it and misread it or something, because that should have been picked up on. So you read it, you go take a look for yourself, tell me what you think. I believe that there's hidden truth, like they're saying. I believe that if you really pay attention to what you're reading, and don't just read one version, one Bible, check them all out. Start at the beginning. Check them all from every religion and really pay a close attention, especially in that beginning, what I just read to you. That don't make sense at all. I'm not trying to say I'm right, but I'm not going to say I'm wrong either, because what if, it's true? Things really are and have been kept from us and misread, misled, and so on and so forth. I mean, really think about that. Now, we're going on to a little over 30 minutes now, and I am getting a little tired and hungry. So, but yeah, this is going to, we'll call this story time part one, because we're going to have to do a part two. There's not going to be enough time to do this whole thing. So think about this and what I just read. Just think about what you just heard, okay? And do your own research. Read different versions from the beginning of every Bible that you can come across, if possible. And really pay attention, especially to the first and second chapter about the man and the woman. And you'll see I really did read that is in there. So yeah, so check it out for yourself. Really do. And I will see you again. And I'm actually thinking about having our part two of this in a few days instead of waiting until Friday, because this is going to go deep. So this is going to actually cover a few video times. So I will let you all know, heads up, what day that's going to be this week, this coming week. Okay? You all have a good weekend. Bless you all. And don't let anybody change you. You're beautiful the way you are. Don't let anybody misjudge you, change you, mistreat you. You're not different. You're perfect in your own way. All right. Love you all.